Rich Eisen, the king of the bracelet. Some would say those wrists have got to weigh about 10 pounds each. Let's go ahead and get into the video.
Thought about this on the flight home on Sunday night.
Flex.
I can never turn it off, Chris. You know?
Same.
No. I was thinking to myself, not a lot of people are talking about these guys.
This is a tough shirt to wear. I mean, look, nothing wrong with the shirt. But if you start sweating, it's over with. These kind of, I don't know how people wear these shirts. Maybe I just sweat a little bit more whenever I'm fired up, whenever I got the juices flowing. But when I start getting, like, wear a baby blue shirt or a gray shirt or a heathered green or anything like that, and I'm drinking some coffee, and I'm talking, I'm rocking and rolling, and I get some of that sweat built up, once I notice it, floodgates are open. I guarantee you, if I was on this show, this was my show, and I was wearing that shirt, I'd be drinking coffee, I'd be talking, I'd be fired up, letting it rip. I'd be sweating. I'm sweating right now. And once I felt it, oh, it wouldn't be good. So kudos to Rich for wearing this shirt.
As a possible difference maker for whether their team does well in 2023 or does not do well in 2023, or does better than expected in 2023, or even go very far in 2023. A lot of people are focused on Aaron Rodgers as a difference.
Now, I will admit, I've been so focused on this shirt, I have absolutely no idea what he said. So, top 5 underrated difference makers. Okay, so like he just said, a lot of people are talking about Rodgers' move. So, who are the people that move teams, switch sides on them, and no one's talking about? Derek Carr comes to mind. He's probably the main hombre, I would say, the underrated difference maker. He's got a legitimate chance to take the Saints from being a abysmal team to being a real threat. Other people that I'm trying to think of other moves, like who are other difference-making moves? I mean, I guess we could talk about rookies, but I really don't like to talk about rookies because we don't know what they can do. So I will leave them off the list.
Difference maker. Odell Beckham Jr. is a difference maker. DeAndre Hopkins is a difference maker. They're bright, shiny objects. I've got a bunch,
but they're not underrated.
Of names. I got 5 names.
5. Let's
top
okay,
5
all right.
underrated difference makers of 2023. And we start with this future Hall of Famer. He's going.
Okay.
He's going. He's going to get a jacket. He's going to get a bust. One day I'll be going off to Canton and I'll be watching him get in and make a speech. And he left his team for 1 year last year. The only team he'd ever known. And this guy is now back to where he once belonged. Nobody's talking about Bobby Wagner as a difference maker in Seattle.
We're not against that.
I am, however, talking about it.
I mean, look, I think the Seahawks are going to be good this year. I think the Seahawks, I have them winning the NFC West. So having Bobby Wagner, even as just a picture of success, just a locker room for a team that kind of went through it, the team that had a big year last year that's ready to try and take that next jump, having Wagner back is kind of all right, if y'all want to take that next jump, this is what it takes. That is a difference maker. And he can still perform on the field. And we know how good their offense is. You know, the defense is going to have to meet the offense.
Pete's way of doing things, the always compete way of doing things. He and John Schneider made up with Bobby Wagner. He's going back there. Just him strolling out on the field.
See?
Making things even louder in one of the loudest places on planet Earth for a sporting event. And then, of course, what he brings to this team locker room-wise.
Yes.
Everything.
Unbelievable how good I am.
Bobby Wagner can do for this team.
Yes.
Nobody's talking about. And if he shows up with his Hall of Fame credentials and his Hall of Fame game, and defensively they can actually impose their will in a way that their offense does, when healthy, have an opportunity. Bobby Wagner is a difference maker.
I'll tell you who is a difference maker. I've only watched, and this is strictly from Twitter. Okay, so I'm not going to lie to anybody here. I'm a little biased, or not biased, but a little knee-jerk, little what have you done for me lately kind of thing. I saw a video of Calvin Ridley running routes in Jacksonville. He looked unbelievable. He looked like the greatest wide receiver that ever played the game. For a team that, a lot like the Seahawks, who's trying to take that next step, a team who's trying to, especially with a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, who's trying to go to that next level, that MVP level, having Calvin Ridley if Calvin Ridley can be a true number one and can be as dominant as he looked in that Twitter clip, Calvin Ridley could be a big one. Because then all of a sudden the Jacksonville Jaguars go from, yeah, okay, cute team, could make some moves to, well, damn. I mean, if Trevor Lawrence takes a step and Calvin Ridley's a stud and Travis Etienne or whatever is good in the backfield and things are happening, that's a scary team. So Calvin Ridley would probably be on my list because he is certainly underrated. I think people have forgotten about him because of the suspension. So I'd toss him on there. I know I haven't given you 5 people, but as he talks and as I kind of go through the Rolodex of players in my mind, I would have him for someone who just, boom, he's there. He just is an injection of offense into your team. He is way more of a difference maker, IMO, than DeAndre Hopkins or Odell Beckham because the quarterback. Because like Odell Beckham is years away from his prime. He's just not that good. Bottom line, he's just not that good. Hopkins is that good, but he's got Ryan Tannehill. Doesn't really matter. But Ridley is that good, and he's got a quarterback who's ready to take that jump.
I don't think people are talking about enough. Yeah. Number 4 on this list, we spoke about him yesterday, and we spoke about his quarterback earlier on this program as a guy of maybe you just watch him go and blossom and become a tier 2 on his way to becoming a tier 1 quarterback. Whether that happens for Justin Fields or not, I do believe, depends on DJ Moore, number 4 on this list.
I don't know about that. I mean, DJ Moore, good player, decent player. I'm not sure if I would have had him on the top 5 of my list. I'm not sure about that one. The Bears, they're going to need someone to step up because it ain't going to be Chase Claypool. I can tell you that much. I got a lot of questions about Justin Fields as far as a passer. I mean, he was incredible last year running the ball. Look, Fields, the book is certainly not closed on him. I think Fields, if he takes a step, he will be a very dangerous player, no doubt about it. But he just has to prove that he can do it. DJ Moore, in my opinion, a good 2. He'd be like a good 2 kind of wide receiver. I'm not sure if I don't know about this edition. We'll listen to Richard.
What a coup for the Chicago Bears to get this guy, an underrated wide receiver, and in my mind, an underrated difference maker for this offense. How about the fact that you get to keep Justin Fields and get DJ Moore for that decision? Well done, Ryan Poles. Actually, this right there, DJ Moore, and whether he does well or not and what he brings to the Bears, that is Lovie Smith's eventual final gift to Bears fans for giving the Bears the...
People don't talk about that enough. How Lovie Smith went for 2 or whatever it was when the Texans had to lose to get the first overall pick. All they had to do was lose. And Lovie, there was 2. So I was betting against the Texans that game because they had to lose. Final drive, they had 2 like 4th and 20 conversions. Then they go for 2 to win. The win gives the Bears the first overall pick and pushes the Texans back. It is one of the all-time head-scratching decisions from an NFL team. It really was insane. I mean, this year, who knows? But imagine if it was a year with like Andrew Luck or Trevor Lawrence or Cam Newton or Peyton Manning or those kind of number 1 overall picks. I mean, the difference in what it would do to a franchise like that, I'll never get over that from Lovie Smith.
First overall selection and them trading it and getting DJ Moore and future draft choices.
Yeah.
Number 3 on this list. All right, we're all focused on Saquon, aren't we? And then his salary in relation to his quarterback salary and who the Giants paid and who they did not pay. Don't forget, Darren Waller is a New York Giant. What is he going to look like on this team? We're overlooking the Giants.
Waller is this is a good addition because I have forgotten that Waller is on the Giants, and with Brian Daboll calling plays and running that offense, and he is exactly what Daniel Jones needs. Waller at times has been absolutely dynamic. He's been in that top tier of tight ends at points. He can be a little streaky as far as production wise, but if anybody can get the most out of him, it's Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll has proven that he knows how to move the chess pieces on the chessboard and get the most out of his players. Waller's skill set, incredible. This is a good one. This is definitely a good one. A tight end is absolutely a quarterback's best friend, especially someone like Daniel Jones. I like the great addition by Rich. This I wouldn't have put him on there because I would have forgot about him. And that screams underrated when you forget about difference makers like this. And Waller is that.
Giants, period. We're talking about the Cowboys, Eagles, and things of that nature. Darren Waller is exactly who Giants fans love.
Yeah.
This guy is somebody the Giants will definitely lean on offensively.
No doubt about that.
This is the type of guy with, Zeke Moat and Jeremy Shockey type numbers. Mm-hmm. Let's go. I think Darren Waller is a difference maker that few people are talking about, and whether the Giants
Good pick.
can take a step up offensively. I think everybody thinks the Giants are ready to take a step back. Last year was Fugazi. Same thing with Daniel Jones. They messed with the wrong guy in Saquon Barkley.
I tend to agree that they might have been a little Fugazi. But again, if anybody can figure out Waller and figure out how to have him help Daniel Jones, it's Brian Daboll.
The coach of the year, Brian Daboll, had his moment. And this year, we'll just take a step back. They'll miss the playoffs. That's the team that if you had to identify a team that made the playoffs last year in the NFL, most likely to miss it this year, I think the Giants would be at the top of a lot of people's lists. Darren Waller can change that.
I agree with that.
Number 2 on this list, you've seen some video of him in training camp, and it jumps off the screen at you, and it's been a while since we've seen him play in the National Football League. But what Calvin Ridley can do for Jacksonville's
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm actually kind of shocked. I know I do this all the time. I know I stop the videos whenever I say something, and then the people who are paid millions of dollars to talk say the exact same thing. He literally said the exact same thing I said. He even referenced the clip, ladies and gentlemen. He referenced the clip of him running the route in training camp. This is shocking. No producers, no notes, no prep, no nothing. This is what I do. I turn the camera on, I click play on the video, and I just talk. I have no notes here. What's in front of me, you ask? Coffee cup, which is empty. Xbox controller hasn't been turned on in months, and one of the muscle guns to sometimes to get the upper pec. If I'm sitting here and I'm cramping. That's it. I'm not even wearing shoes. There's nothing else. No bracelets like Rich. No fancy cameras. No fancy lights. No producers doing all the stuff for me. After this, I got to edit the video, do my own metadata, do my own thumbnails. I'm telling you right now, and we're 13 minutes in, so I can really go on a tangent. This won't take too long. I'm the best at this. That's just it. I'm the best at this. Think about it. How many times have we done this where I stop the video and I highlight that whoever it is saying the same damn thing I am? I work a full-time job. I do other stuff. Again, I had to do all this. No prep. Colin Cowherd, Rich Eisen, Pat McAfee, Nick Wright, Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, a combined $300 million in salary, are consistently 20 steps behind me. ESPN, Fox, whoever, CBS Sports. What are y'all doing? Call me, email me, send me a tweet, Snapchat me, hit me up on WhatsApp. I'm available. I am doing all of these guys' jobs on top of your editing team's jobs, on top of your graphic designer jobs, on top of your camera crew's jobs, on top of your lighting crew's jobs, on top of everyone. I'm the top guy in sports media. That's a fact. I'm the top guy. Show me who's better.
Offense.
Yep.
And what he can do for Trevor Lawrence. And if Travis Etienne shows up in the same manner as he did last year, and the rest of that offense can be clicking in the way that Doug Peterson had them clicking in the second half of the season last year and coming back on the Chargers and giving a little bit of a scare to the Chiefs. Calvin Ridley, people, Let's not forget what he did in the ATL and what he can do right now. Fresh legs. He's a number 2 underrated difference maker of 2023. And
number 1, it could be Derek Carr. I was expecting to see Carr. No one's really talking about it. I mean, it's a little different for me because I talk about it all the time. I live in New Orleans. But as far as the national media, I feel like they are underrating Derek Carr. So 1 could be Carr here.
Number 1 on this list, I wanted to go with somebody that nobody is talking about and has a chance at his own personal redemption.
Derek Carr.
For a team that everybody believes is in the crapper. Number 1.
I don't know about that.
In terms of an underrated difference maker in 2023 is Baker Mayfield.
I knew it. I knew it.
I don't know. Right division, what do they say? Right church, wrong pew. Hope I got that right. I mean, maybe. It certainly could be a personal redemption. If Baker is good, look, if Baker is good, he's got the tools to be good. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, like legitimate players. If Baker is good, and Rich is right, everyone expects the Buccaneers, including me, to be total ass. But if Baker is good and the Bucs are good, that will revitalize Baker's career. Because Baker in Cleveland, remember, boys and girls, he turned Cleveland from a complete laughingstock, or maybe not him, but he was part of the rebuild that went from Cleveland being a complete laughingstock to a playoff team and within, that close to beating the Chiefs. If Baker turns the Bucs around or is part of that turnaround after Tom Brady, he would certainly be back in that conversation of like legitimate starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And maybe he needs a fresh start. Maybe he needs... You can't scoff at the weapons. You can't scoff at it. Like Baker, in spurts, Baker has shown he can play in the NFL. Is he a first overall pick? Is he a franchise quarterback? Is he a guy who can lead you to the playoffs? I don't know about all that. But I'll know much more about all that if he has a really good season. And if he leads the Buccaneers to more wins than they should get. So I don't know if I'd put him on my list, but I am excited to see what Baker Mayfield can do. I mean, he's right now, he's in a quarterback controversy with Kyle Trask. If he has a good year, he goes from getting released to a quarterback controversy with Kyle Trask to, he's a bona fide NFL starter again.
I knew that's where
it's Baker freaking Mayfield.
Oh, man.
Hey, your reaction is exactly why he's number 1 on my list. Because before he got his shoulder banged up in Cleveland and kept playing when he shouldn't have.
How many years ago?
And then last year,
he had a couple for the Rams. He had a couple 2-minute drives, moments for the Rams where I was like, "Oh man, maybe he does have it." The problem with Baker is he's got the attitude of Brett Favre as far as like some of his passes, but he doesn't have the arm. So a lot of the passes that Brett Favre got through tight windows, Baker gets picked. I will agree, at the end with Cleveland, he was super banged up. I think he tore his rotator cuff. I think he had some rib injuries. I think he had an ankle problem all at the same time, played through it. Tough guy. But physically, he is certainly lacking.
Got caught up in everything that happened in Carolina. That is not a fair evaluation of Baker Mayfield that we got last year in Carolina.
Agreed.
Coach that brings him in gets fired in the middle of the season. McCaffrey gets traded away. He gets benched. Come on. Just because Steve Wilkes didn't use him doesn't mean he's toast. And then he shows up here in Los Angeles, and on pure guts, guile, and will and knowledge for the Rams, what he did last year in that Thursday night game is truly one of the most unbelievable performances of last year. So he's got it in him.
What about the other?
I've said this before with Baker. He, if nothing else, he is a gamer. He is a alpha dog. He is a gutsy guy. He is certainly who you want. If you have to have, and this is something else where I'll talk about like being a GM all the time or being like a front office guy. If you have the option between rolling Davis Mills out there, which the Texans did for 2 straight years, or having Baker Mayfield, at least Baker is going to give you some fight, some bite, some something. He's got that moxie, and I think it does take that for a quarterback. It doesn't always translate. You can have all the moxie in the world, but if you can't make the throws and can't make the plays, whatever. But Baker has been in his career an absolutely unwavering competitor, an absolute unwavering leader. He's shown that everywhere he's gone. So I have no doubt that he'll do that in Tampa. And I have no doubt that he'll beat out Kyle Trask for the starting job, because I don't think Kyle Trask has that dog in him.
The 3 games.
I understand, Chris. I understand. It's still in there potentially. I'm just saying the Bucs right now would be what? Dead last DFL, and everybody predicting whether they win the NFC South this year?
Oh, for sure.
They'd be one of the bottom.
Because you're going with Derek Carr and the Saints.
Yep.
And you're going with Bryce Young. He's looking terrific. That's all you're hearing about. And you're going with Atlanta. He's the number one difference maker in the NFL. Whether the Bucs make the playoffs and he's got a career and he's their future guy and he just shows you, I was number one overall for a reason. I'm showing up like I showed up against Pittsburgh in the playoffs. I am waking up dangerous every day.
That part's true. If they do make the playoffs, win the division, whatever, Baker, like that is going to be an incredible narrative of Baker being back and being legitimate. But I will say his stock will be higher if that happens than it was when he was at this peak with the Browns. So no doubt about that. If all that happens, he will be, that stock will be way up there. As far as like underrated difference maker right now, I don't know about that.
And being that leader that you heard from Chris Godwin that he can be. He's got the weapons, and he's got the opportunity. He's number one on my list. Nobody's talking about Baker Mayfield.
Not a bad list. I don't have a problem with it. DJ Moore, GTFO, but the rest of it, pretty legitimate list. Not bad from Rich there. Not bad at all. Let me know in the comments below what you think, ladies and gentlemen, about the top 5 underrated difference maker players. How about this? Instead of doing a top 5, tell me who is the underrated difference maker on your favorite team, whoever it may be. Doesn't matter. It can be any team. Who is the underrated difference maker on your team that you're excited to watch this year? Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.